Xbox is about to reveal their biggest surprise yet. This Xbox policy has fans divided, and this Game Pass title might be its most interesting addition ever. Let's discuss. What's up guys, and welcome back to Xbox Ready, the YouTube channel that is all about Xbox. If this is your first time watching, I'm Ray, and I get on here 3 times a week to talk everything that's going on in the world of Xbox. I talk the latest news and rumors, I do game reviews, I talk about accessories, I do all sorts of stuff in an effort to make sure that you are Xbox ready. So whether you're a day one fan of Xbox or you just joined the family, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and you ring that little bell to be alerted to whenever I post a video in the future. We got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today because Xbox confirmed that they are bringing back their Developer Direct Showcase, the same show where they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush back in 2023. Xbox launched the show last year as like a smaller, more intimate showcase, and I'm super excited to see that they're bringing it back because I thought it was really well executed. I really like the format of the show. They set expectations very clearly going into the showcase, so there was nothing crazy, but didn't stop people from speculating. And of course, they had a really awesome surprise for us last year when they were like, hey, here's Hi-Fi Rush, this game that a lot of people didn't even know was being worked on by Tango Gameworks. Go play it on Game Pass right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan of the bigger shows, you know, like their summer showcase that they do, like Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest and the Game Awards. But let's be real, guys. Those bigger shows, I ultimately end up only caring about like 20 to 30% of the stuff that's shown. There's a lot of stuff that they show off at the bigger shows that I just don't care about, and there's a ton of sponsors that they gotta get through. It's a whole thing, so it's refreshing to see something like Developer Direct, where it's just about the games. I'm also super excited about this Developer Direct because Xbox confirmed that we are getting our first look at one of their most highly anticipated first-party games this generation. A game that could potentially be a tentpole title for them on par with something like Spider-Man or Uncharted. I'm of course referring to the Indiana Jones game being worked on by Machine Games, the same studio that developed the Wolfenstein series. They've confirmed that the developers are going to talk for 10 minutes about the game's story and setting, and they're going to be debuting its first gameplay trailer. And honestly guys, I am shocked that they are showing this game off so soon. Indiana Jones was noticeably absent from the summer showcase in 2023. I would have guessed that games like Fable, Clockwork Revolution, maybe even South of Midnight would have made an appearance at this Developer Direct before Indiana Jones. And it's got me wondering, does this mean that Indiana Jones is slated for a 2024 release? Are we going to see this game on Xbox consoles by the end of this year? Because if you remember, all of the games shown off at last year's Developer Direct, Forza Motorsport, Redfall, Minecraft Legends, Hi-Fi Rush, the Elder Scrolls Online Necrom expansion. All of those games ultimately released in 2023. So I'm like, why would they show off Indiana Jones at this Developer Direct if they weren't going to release it at some point this year? Apparently, I'm not the only one that's thinking that, because according to Insider Gaming, Indiana Jones is indeed on track for a 2024 release. Of course, delays happen, and up until this point, we haven't seen anything about this game. We haven't had any sort of updates. So if they delayed Indiana Jones into 2025, I don't think it would be the end of the world because there's still plenty of exclusives coming this year. But if they can ship Indiana Jones this year, that would make for an incredible year for Xbox in terms of their first-party output. If it's good. Xbox also confirmed that they're going to be showing off Obsidian's Avowed, Aura History Untold, and Hellblade 2. Now, when it comes to Avowed, I wonder if they're going to change up anything about the presentation of this game, or if they've tweaked anything about the game's design since we saw that trailer back in the summer. Now, Avowed, if you are not aware, is a fantasy RPG that is set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, which is another game that was developed by Obsidian. The last time we saw anything about this game was back at the summer showcase, and I'm wondering if they're going to change anything about how they present this game, or maybe even tweaked some of the designs in the game. Because after that first gameplay trailer that we got in June, a lot of people came out and they were like, what? This looks so cartoony, this looks whack, this doesn't look good. Which I personally didn't understand because if you look at Obsidian's other games, specifically games like, The Outer Worlds and Grounded, they're very colorful, stylized, quote-unquote cartoony. I'm interested to see more about Hellblade 2. We know that this game visually is going to look awesome. And we know it's going to probably have some deep, surrealist story like we saw in that first Hellblade game. We know the motion capture is probably going to be on point because we've seen a lot of stuff showcasing that. But what's the game like, man? What's the combat like, man? Is this game going to be fun? Now, that first Hellblade game, and I've said this once, I've said it 100 times, that first Hellblade game, interesting concept, audio design went crazy, combat was pretty fun, but there was a lot of stuff that wasn't fun, like looking into the sky for the symbols and trying to solve puzzles and all that. So I'll be interested to see if there was any gameplay changes for the sequel. Speaking of that summer showcase, there were a lot of titles shown off that had a 2024 release window that aren't being featured in this developer direct. Games like Towerborn, the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, again, South of Midnight is rumored to have a 2024 release date as well. Since those games don't seem to be involved in developer direct, at least in this current lineup that we have, does this mean they're going to have a separate show for the rest of the 2024 titles? A second developer direct featuring different games? Another burning question that is on my mind, and I'm sure a lot of yours, is are they going to have another surprise drop for us? That stealth drop of Hi-Fi Rush immediately after they showed it at last year's developer direct was awesome, and I'm really hoping that they have another surprise up their sleeve for us this year. But if they do that, that also sets the pressure and the expectation that they're going to do that every single year at every developer direct, at every showcase. And that might be more trouble than it's worth.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
There's also been a ton of rumors surrounding Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush. People are thinking that Xbox is potentially going to make those games multi-platform, and I've seen some people wondering if they're going to make that announcement at the developer direct. Hell no. At least I would bet money that they would not do that. That's not something that you announce at your own showcase. That's something that, you know, at Nintendo Direct, if they wanted to be like, hey, Hi-Fi Rush, we teamed up with Xbox to bring it to Switch, that's their thing, but it's not ever in a million years something I would expect from Xbox to announce at their own show. No matter what happens, I am super excited that Developer Direct is returning. As a reminder, it's going down on January 18th, and it's going to be streamed on all the usual platforms. The Xbox YouTube channel, their Twitch channel, IGN will probably do a stream as well, all the major gaming outlets. So keep an eye out for it because I'm confident that it's going to be a really good show. Next up, I have to respond to something that Xbox has said in the past couple of days. 2 uploads ago, I did a whole video talking about the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff, all the problems that Xbox was having, and how inadvertently it was improving the Xbox platform. And one of those problems, as you've probably heard, is that Xbox is banning players for uploading the more spicy scenes in Baldur's Gate 3 to the Xbox Live Network. In my video, I centered on a specific case that was featured on Reddit and that got picked up by Kotaku and all the major gaming outlets, where this guy recorded these clips of Baldur's Gate 3. One of them featured like slight nudity and violence, and Xbox responded by giving him 9 strikes in their new enforcement system, which effectively banned his account. Now, the user that was banned claimed that he was banned because of Xbox's automated flagging system. And so I was like, that is whack. That's not something that should happen. Xbox should revisit that. They should have an actual human reviewing all of these cases that are flagged by their automated system. They just need a little bit more context before they start suspending players and banning them. But since then, Xbox has responded, and to be honest, I don't really know how to feel about it. They said to provide clarity on Baldur's Gate 3 mature content enforcement actions, Xbox account suspensions are not automatic. Each clip is reviewed by a moderator, and if found in violation of our safety and content policies, actioned accordingly. Our team evaluates appeals and can reverse suspensions if action was taken in error. If this was a first offense, for example, we will remove the suspension and let players know why it happened and how to avoid future issues. Example, how to turn off auto upload when sensitive content is being captured. And it's like, does this respond to make the whole situation less or more annoying? And I'm leaning towards more annoying. Because they even admit, they acknowledge at the end of this response, they're like, oh, you can turn off auto upload, a feature that not a lot of people know about or knew was even happening. But it's like, why would they let it get to that point? If they're auto uploading a clip that you captured on your Xbox console and it's being sucked away into the Xbox Live Network, wouldn't it be easier for them to be like, hey, just a heads up, if you upload this to the network, you might get a suspension or you might get flagged for enforcement, something like that. No, they just skip straight to the enforcement stuff. And it's so weird because nudity and violence in games has been around for a while. I'm thinking of the romance scenes in Mass Effect or Dragon Age or Cyberpunk. And I've never heard of this issue happening to people getting banned for uploading clips of spicy or explicit content until Baldur's Gate 3. And it would be different if me, a guy who has like 14,000 followers on my Xbox profile, a lot of which are probably kids, was like, let me upload this like graphic nude sex scene from Baldur's Gate 3 for all of you to watch. And even if I wanted to upload it to my timeline, share it to like my Xbox feed, Xbox should really consider adding like a not safe for work tag or an explicit kind of blur out function. This just seems like a very weird hill for Xbox to die on. The good news is that people who have been getting their accounts banned because of that Baldur's Gate 3 problem, the bans have been lifted from a lot of their accounts and their privileges restored. And I know that Xbox has a responsibility to protect, especially its younger audience, from violent, explicit images. But once again, I am really hoping that they re-examine these policies and make them a little bit less draconian. Next up, let's talk about Game Pass. Like I always say, it's not an Xbox Ready video unless I mention Game Pass in some way. And January is shaping up to be a really exciting month for the service. We know that 2024 is going to be a huge year for Game Pass, with day one additions like Stalker 2, potentially Ark 2, Towerborn, Avowed, Indiana Jones potentially. And it certainly seems like they're starting off on the right foot in January. One of the more interesting titles hitting Game Pass this month is Palworld. Now, we've seen this game a couple of times over the past couple of years. Last time we saw it was at Summer Games Fest. They showed off a trailer. And if you haven't heard of it already, the premise is basically Pokemon, but they have guns, which that's hilarious. And on their Steam page, they take it further and they're like, you can eat your pals, the equivalent of Pokemon in this world. You can make them work in a factory. You can work them until they die, basically. I'm excited to try out this game. I'm hoping it is a fun, nice twist on the Pokemon genre that we all know and love, much like Cassette Beast was in 2023. But it's also possible that all this stuff with the firearms and the sweatshops and eating the Pokemon is just a gimmick to mask a otherwise mediocre game. Luckily, it's coming to Game Pass, so if it's good, yay. If it's bad, I can move on with my life. Hell Let Loose is also coming to Game Pass this month, and this is a really fun World War II game. The emphasis is on big team battles and especially communication. If you're going to play this game, you need a microphone to communicate with your team because you're all trying to coordinate with your squadron to hold points, fight through the trenches and stuff. It's really, really cool, but you need to communicate. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is also making its way to Game Pass. They've now officially rounded out the Assassin's Creed RPG collection because we already had Origins on there and Odyssey. So if you liked either of those games, Origins and Odyssey, then this is perfect for you. But if you're more of an old school fan of Assassin's Creed and you've been looking at those RPGs like, that's not really my thing, then you can try Valhalla as part of your Game Pass subscription. And again, if you don't like it, you can move on with your life. If you do like it, congratulations. They're also adding Resident Evil 2 this month. Now, this is the remake of the 1998 version of the game. Came out a couple of years ago, I believe in 2019? I highly recommend this game to anyone that enjoyed the Resident Evil 4 remake. You can once again play as our boy Leon as you fight your way through hordes of zombies in Raccoon City. There's a couple more games like Figment and We Happy Few that are being added or returning to Game Pass. And of course, we're probably going to see more titles being added to the service as the month goes on, that second half of January. But the games I talked about are my personal highlights. And again, I think it's a pretty strong monthly lineup. I think subscribers have a lot to be excited for. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. I'm on Instagram now, State of Ray, Xbox Ready, and I'm posting to TikTok again. So if you want to check me out there, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.